discussion. Can't you see them dad boys are casting? Testing competition on their podcast mission. Never know what you get. It's chaotic precision. If you don't know, you better find out the dad pack. Are here to prove a point. We three kings just believe that you don't want to tussle with them. This show is thunder. Subscribe and tune in, and you're laughing to the very end. Don't turn your back on the dad pack. Don't turn your back on the dad pack.
Put the kids to bed. Dad's home. We are the DWO podcast, representing the dad world order. I am the handsome head of household, Mr. Magnificent Mike Martin. With me, as always, the rest of this patriarch pack. We got the big bad bearded daddy. He is Big Rig Eric Maffey.
Honk if you hear me. Let's go.
10-4. And he is the perpetual mid-carder and the two-time world record holder. He is the wrestling t-shirt guy, Bo Cephas.
Cowabunga, indeed. It is day 1119 of consecutively wearing wrestling shirts, and we're rocking.
Oh,
Ooh, yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Well, as Mr. Magnificent said, we are the DWO podcast, and tonight we have with us a very, very, very special guest. If you are from the greater Cincinnati area and you don't know who this guy is, you're living under a rock. He is the host of the B105 radio show in the afternoons, I believe it is now. I grew up listening to you in the mornings, but in the afternoon now, the one and only Big Dave.
Hey.
Sir, how the heck are you?
doing great. And I get to sleep now like a normal human being.
Right. Pretty awesome.
Which after most of my life is a different thing. I love it.
I saw like a quote I read, like I was just looking up why the switch and everything, and something was like, I want to be able to watch football at night.
Heck yeah. I got
was like,
you know,
so awesome.
for like the past 10 years of doing mornings on B105, I used to dread the Bengals schedule coming out and them having primetime games because I knew I was going to watch them. I had to, but I also knew I was going to get like 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Because, I was getting up at 3:15 in the morning.
Oh.
So it's rough. And then, it's like the game ends at 11:30. You can't just go to bed. Even win or lose, you're amped up still from the game. So then you get in bed and it's the cycle of, I got 2.5 hours if I sleep now. 2 hours. You know what I'm saying?
You blink and it's okay, an hour and a half.
Yeah. I'll tell you my secret to that was I started telling myself, all right, I'm going to take a 3-hour nap.
Yeah.
And because a 3-hour nap for us dads sounds wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you say I'm only going to sleep 3 hours, then you're tired all day.
Then you're going to oversleep and
but if you, in your mind, you thought, I just took a 3-hour nap, that's not that bad.
All right. I feel a little refreshed, a little power nap.
Yeah.
That's a mind hack, Dave. That's good.
Yeah. There's all kinds of little tricks.
I mean, I know me and Mike used to deal with it a lot. We both used to work night shift for, I know I did it for 10 years. I don't know how long Mike did it for, but long time. And it was rough for a while, especially being dads. I know I had my daughter on like all my off days, so I was kind of like on a half-ass day shift schedule when I'd have her, and then I'm back to night shift, and it was just burning the candle at both ends.
It's like you were there, but you were just kind of like,
I wasn't.
So you were working overnight shifts? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we were working 12-hour shifts. We were like 6 to 6, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
It's just 4 days a week. Or 5.
It would be like a 2-2-3 schedule. So we'd work say we work Monday, Tuesday, we'd be off Wednesday, Thursday, and then work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. And then we'd be the next week we'd be off Monday, Tuesday, work Wednesday, Thursday, off Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Wow.
And it would just keep rotating. Anytime we told people our schedules, they were like, what?
Yeah. The thing about it is and you can relate to this is human beings are designed to sleep from midnight to 8, I think, or 7 or whatever. And when you start tinkering with that, your body doesn't like it, no matter what. Like when I was getting up at 3:15, 3:30, whatever, I'd go to bed. I'd be asleep at like 8:30. It's like it was time. I was already in bed for a while to wind down, but so I'd get 7 hours of sleep. but your body doesn't care. And by 1 o'clock the next day, even though I got 7 hours, it's like you need to take a nap or you need to do something. So it's just weird.
I'm broken somehow. Like I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, regardless. I don't get it at all. Like my alarm is set for 5:15, and 4:30 in the morning every day.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing, man.
I had really bad sleep issues when I was working night shift where, I mean, I could sleep, like I'd get home from work. We'd get off at 6:30. I'd get home at 7. I'd be asleep by 8 o'clock. And I would there would be times where I was late for my 6 p.m. shift because I would just be out like a light and I wouldn't wake up to my alarms. And I ended up getting sleep studies done and I got like sleep apnea and the whole thing.
Oh,
but it was still like the doctors that were always like, oh, you just need to be you need a better sleep schedule. I was like, that's not possible for me. I need other solutions.
Exactly. I can tell
I wish.
Here's a funny story, if you don't mind. I'll tell you about working overnight. When I was in college, I'm from Tennessee originally, and I grew up in a town called Murfreesboro, which is right outside of Nashville, and went to Middle Tennessee State University. And I worked overnight shifts at this place called Rich's Products. They make all kinds of pastries and things. A lot of stuff you buy in stores that you think is the store's brand. It's Rich's made it. Yeah. So and I was in sanitation, so we'd work overnight. And there was this one room. It was a giant room. But it was called the sifter room, and it was where there were these big vats of flour, and they would sift them and then pipe them out to all the production lines. So every once in a while, I'd go in there with somebody else, and we have to clean them, and it was just insane how much there was flour everywhere floating in the air. You got on all the stuff, goggles and everything. But I would go home after working all night if I was in the sifter room, and I'd go to sleep and I'd wake up. And the first time it happened, it freaked me out. I couldn't open my eyes because I had so much of that the flour had gotten into my eyes. And while I slept, it came out and formed a paste on my eyelids. And I woke up. I was like, what the hell? Yeah. So we demanded and got an eye wash station after that. So whenever you worked in the sifter room, you could do that thing and tilt it back and wash it out because it comes out. But it was the craziest thing.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I used to work at a place where they made the Keebler, like fudge stripe cookies and stuff. Yeah. So we had flour sifters there and everything. And I didn't work in sanitation. I worked in maintenance, thank God. So I didn't have to. But there were times where, you got to get in there and change the filters out or whatever. And, that stuff would just get freaking everywhere.
It gets everywhere. And they'd send us in there to clean it. I'm like, what the hell? There's flour floating through the air right now in here. Yeah. You can hardly see. What are we cleaning? I don't know. But yeah.
And the flour silo would always like get moist and it'd smell almost like beer in a way. And in the flour silo.
All right, can we do a gross story? One more story about Rich's?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So you might have run into this Big Rig where you worked there. So it was a huge factory, and there was one place where they called it the dough compactor. So you take it back to the back by the warehouse, and you dump all the scrap dough into this thing, and it would push it out into a semi truck bed.
Disgusting.
Or not truck bed, but a semi trailer.
Yes.
And they'd sell it to Purina to make like animal food and stuff. Well, that was the only place in the whole building where rats could get in.
Oh,
so what these rats would do is they'd go back there and they'd get in there to the dough compactor, and they're rats. They don't have that big of a brain. They just start eating that dough eat. And they'd eat until they were full. And then the yeast would rise in their stomachs and it'd kill them. They would literally, and you would go back there and they wouldn't be exploded, but they would just be on their back like, and they were dead.
Just gorged to death.
Literally ate themselves to death because they didn't know when to stop. It's like when you eat cookie dough, you eat a couple of pieces of cookie dough, a little later, you're really full because it rises in your stomach. They ate themselves to death.
Wow.
I'd rather drink myself to death, I think.
Well, me and Mike both worked at a place that had a scrap meat trailer.
Oh.
And let me tell you, that thing, when it got emptied, was rough.
I bet.
It's, whew.
I bet.
I will forever remember that smell. That'll never. I worked there 3-4 months, something like that, and I still remember it. It was
Now,
horrible.
let me ask you this, because they say your sense of smell is one of the more heightened things that causes memories. Do you ever get a whiff of that somewhere, and it immediately you think of that?
Oh yeah,
Like, I mean,
yeah.
like something that harkens you back to that. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, like any like if I get like a whiff of like roadkill or something like that,
Oh.
driving down the street, it immediately I'm like, hey, meat trailer, that's gross.
It's
Anytime I smell any type of brandy,
did you work at the Seagram's plant?
no, anytime I smell it, it just reminds me of brand. There's something about the smell of brandy, and it overpowers me, man. I can't.
That's how I am with vodka.
And by the way,
bad.
the Siemens plant and the Seagram's plant are two different
Two
things.
different things.
What you just said there, I was like, wait a minute, where did he work? I got the sound effect on that one.
Yeah.
No, I was excited when you guys asked because I know Statman was on here and talked about wrestling, and you guys are obviously huge wrestling fans. I'm loving looking at all this stuff, and it dawned on me how many different wrestling stories I have from my days in radio. I mean, just
you got to give us a couple of them.
I'd say it's gonna be kind of hard to top the stat man. I mean, he had John Cena's handprint on his honeymoon.
So I'll go with my first, like when I had just started doing morning radio in Nashville for the rock station there that I grew up listening to, WKDF. I actually have a tattoo of the old retro logo on this shoulder. I got a B105 50th on this one, but
no kidding.
Yeah. So they one of the first ones, I just started doing the morning show there. I wasn't new into radio, but it was my first big celebrity interview. It was back, and you guys will be able to correct me. I'm not sure what it was called at the time, the WWF or the WWE or whatever. But they had Monday Nitro or something. They would do these live from different cities.
Yeah,
and I think it were on TBS or TNT or whatever.
Well, that was WCW. Yeah.
Okay, WCW.
Yeah, Monday Nitro was WCW.
It was a big one that was coming to Nashville, and this was at the height of Hulkamania, Hulk Hogan, and everything, and they were bringing Hulk Hogan by to our show for us to interview him that morning. And I was so nervous because I'd never, I'd met celebrities before, but no one the stature of Hulk Hogan. At that point, he was the biggest thing going in wrestling. He had transcended.
Was this NWO Hulk Hogan? Like black and white and all that?
No. He was still
still Hulkamania.
Yeah, Hulkamania.
Okay,
yeah.
so this is pre-NWO turn. All
so
right.
yeah, this would have been probably around 94, maybe.
Oh yeah.
If I say that.
Right when he went to WCW.
Yeah.
He went to WCW. He left WWF and went to WCW in '94. It was a big, huge deal. They had like a parade about it. It was crazy.
Well, he was the biggest thing going. So, anyway, so the limousine pulls up, and I go to the front door of the radio station to let him in. And here he gets out of this limousine. He's just the coolest looking guy ever. He's huge, by the way. And he walks down the little sidewalk to our doors and bring him in. I'll never forget. He had on blue jeans and a Hard Rock Casino like leather, or not Hard Rock Casino, but Hard Rock Cafe leather jacket, or a jacket they had given him. And underneath it, he had on a Rolling Stones mouth T-shirt, the one with the tongue sticking out. So he's just the most laid back guy, and I'm super nervous. And he's sitting next to me, and my partner's across running the board. And I'm serious, just so California, just like very calm and everything. But man, the minute the microphones came on, I mean, the second the hands went up, and he's like, "Let me tell you something, Nashville. You got to come down here tonight." And he just goes into this diatribe of wrestling.
Yeah.
And just crazy. Mics are off, and he's like, "Can I get a cup of coffee?" Just very calm. And then at one point, I remember he took off the Hard Rock jacket, and the Rolling Stones shirt was cut off at the sleeves.
Of course.
And his freaking arms were bigger than my thighs. I was just like,
4-inch pythons.
oh, they were enormous. And but the whole thing was that the whole way he could just on and off with that. Mic's on, he's crazy. Mic's off, calm, California laid back. But that was pretty cool.
Let me tell you something, dude.
Yeah. And then we got to go down there that night. And of course, and this was one thing I've lamented for years until recently. That was back in the days in '94 or whenever it was. Guys didn't carry cameras around. We didn't. Nowadays you always can. Whatever happens, you can take a picture of it and document it. And I was like, damn it, I don't have a picture of me and Hulk Hogan, and I really wish I did because that was still one of my favorite things. And sure enough, our promotions director from back in the day, Cindy in Nashville, she posted one of me backstage that night with Hulk Hogan, and I think it was Jimmy Hart. I think
dude.
Was he was a manager with that?
He was the manager, yeah.
And
he's still a manager. So.
Oh yeah, he came onto our show quite a bit with different wrestlers. We had Sting in one time, and I think he was with him. They used to bring them all to our show, and that was cool. So that's my one really cool wrestling story. But I have another one that involves nudity. If you want to hear that one.
That's saving the best for last.
Well, I don't want to take over the show here with
Dave. We're here to listen to
guest, man. We're here to listen to you.
Wait, who is on your shirt, by the way?
Today is the Undertaker.
Undertaker. All right. I have a quick story about him before we get to the nude one. Okay. So we're working the Motley Crue show in Nashville at the amphitheater there at the time. Like our Riverbend, it was called Starwood. And this was the point where Motley Crue, Vince Neil had left, and a guy named John Corabi was the singer, and they put out an album, and one album with a different lead singer. And but they were playing there that night, and we're backstage, and I'm standing next to Mick Mars, the guitarist for Motley Crue's dressing room, and all of a sudden this just enormous shape. You can feel something going by you, and I'm like, what the hell? This enormous figure just walked by and ducked down and went into Mick Mars' dressing room. And I turned to somebody, I'm like, who the hell was that? And they're like, it's the Undertaker. Yeah. Like, what the hell? They said him and Mick Mars are good buddies, and he's in town and wanted to go in and see Mick. One of the largest individuals I've ever seen, besides the time I met the guy, Peter Mayhew, that played Chewbacca. That guy was really big. But the Undertaker was massive. I was just pissed I didn't get to see him long enough. It was like just a brief encounter.
Just felt that cold chill, and
you just felt that aura. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I mean, you feel when somebody is that large walks past you, man, it's like, what the hell? It almost invades your space, and they're not even touching you.
Well, and I feel like I noticed that even more because, like, I'm a bigger guy. I'm 6'3", about 280, 290. But when somebody is that big, like, even though I'm taller, I'm used to being kind of, one of the taller guys in the room. I feel that, and I'm just like, oh God, you're huge.
Yeah.
Until you meet a 7-footer in person, man, there's nothing like that.
Oh yeah. Is that how tall the Undertaker is? I'm not sure. I mean, you would
he's
know.
Like, I think he's like 6'10",
6'11",
6'11", something like that. Yeah.
He's not. I met a high school kid that was 7-footer. My daughter was dating him, and he came in, and he'd like duck under the doorways, and I was like, are you hungry?
He's probably
hungry.
He's probably like always. I'm always hungry.
Poor parents.
Yeah. Yeah. But the nudity one is the gym I worked out at in Nashville. It's called the Club at Green Hills. And there was a lot of celebrities that worked out there. Ones that I didn't realize because you're just in there to work out. But I mean, here's not wrestling, but Reese Witherspoon. She went to Harpeth Hall in Nashville, and before she really hit it big, she used to be in there all the time. Somebody had to point that out to me. That's that actress Reese Witherspoon. I'm like, oh. And then once Cruel Intentions came out, she was gone. You never saw her again. But one day, and we talked about this on the air not too long ago, me and Statman. You know what a moon landing is in the locker room?
Yes.
So when
just saw this on Modern Family the other day.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So it's when, for those that are watching that don't know, it's when two guys are getting dressed in the locker room and you both bend down or something and your naked butts touch. Well, this
hilarious.
Yeah. And so I'm in the locker room and this guy's behind me. I'm not really paying attention to who it is. And we both go to sit down on the bench at the same time and our butts touch. And I'm like, dude, sorry. And he turns around. Freaking Hillbilly Jim, the old wrestler. And he was the hairiest son of a bitch I've ever seen, man. It was great. But I mean, and I didn't look, I'm not talking about that. I mean, just everywhere, but I was like, and he was the nicest guy. I'm like, dude, sorry. Of course, back then there wasn't a name for it, but all I knew was our asses.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Hillbilly Jim.
One of the weirdest, like, I love Hillbilly Jim. One of the weirdest proportion dudes, like when you look at him and he's just like
Oh yeah.
Dude had a shoulder span that was like two guys next to each other. It was crazy.
And they were covered in hair.
Yeah.
And I mean,
very
everywhere.
individual.
Everywhere.
Yeah. So there's my wrestling stories. I mean,
I love it.
this it was really cool though. That night with Hulk Hogan, we did get to sit ringside, and it was very exciting.
Oh yeah. Well, that was when WCW was like on the come up too. So that was pretty good. That was
being that close to it and watching it. Watching the I don't know what you call it, the tapestry, or just the way that what they do is amazing.
Yeah.
I
The
mean,
energy.
It's an art form for sure.
Yeah.
That's interesting, man. I'm gonna see if I can't. You said it was in Nashville.
Nashville. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going on Peacock and I'm finding Big
Now,
Dan.
let me
see if we can't see you somewhere on the.
Let me say this. There were two of them, and we might not have been ringside for the Hulk Hogan one that we did, because they did this a couple of times. I want to say they called it Monday Night Nitro or Monday Nitro.
Yeah.
But there was an old wrestler, I remember that when we were backstage, because I turned around and it was one of the more funny things I've ever seen, was an old wrestler called Avalanche.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if anybody remembers him.
Oh yeah.
He was obviously a very big guy, but it was the juxtaposition of we're backstage and there's a food table, and this massive guy is holding a tiny little plate about that big, and he's just eating fruit off of it like this, hunched over it. And I was like, this guy could squash me, with one swipe, and he's like eating little melon balls and grapes off of it. I'm like, dude, you thought he'd be having like a turkey leg or something.
So cool story about him. He was actually a legit sumo wrestler. Like in Japan, John Tenta, yeah. He was one of the few non-Japanese like sumo wrestlers that like actually did well over there and shit. Yeah.
Okay.
Better known as Earthquake.
He was Earthquake
and then Avalanche.
He was Earthquake in WWE, and then he couldn't use his name in WCW, so he was Avalanche.
Well, the last wrestling thing is I was going to show you guys, but I told you I can't get back to my shed right now because the amount of snow in my backyard is very hilly. Is I have somewhere with one of our visits, Jimmy Hart came in and he brought in Jerry Lawler with him, Jerry the King Lawler.
Yes.
And they had just put out these action figures. And I want to say it was WWE or whatever. I've got the box, and I really tried to I was like, damn it, I got to get it. But I've got that still in the box, and he autographed it. The box itself. So Jerry the King Lawler.
Jerry's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually a really talented artist. There's a guy who we've had on the show. His company's Headlocked Comics, and he makes like wrestling comics.
Oh, okay.
And he'll collaborate with wrestlers to like write a story for them, and then he contracts artists to do the artwork and stuff. But a few of them, he had Jerry the King Lawler do the cover art for it, and I mean, it's really really good stuff.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
He's an insanely good artist. He can draw people. He's one of the people that can just draw someone from sitting there looking at him within a few seconds, and it's kind of ridiculous. He's got talent all over.
The whole thing he did with Andy Kaufman was just brilliant.
Yeah,
I mean, that whole thing was just insane. How cool that was.
I know, sadly he's no longer with us, but there's a part of me that just likes to pretend that Andy's still alive somewhere. And he's just pretending to not be alive somewhere.
Yeah.
Just because, and I feel like that's going to last until I'm old and pass away. I don't know. In my head, Andy Kaufman's not dead. He's just pretending.
Think about that. That angle was genius and like so ahead of its time. There's something cross promotional like that to get them, national buzz.
And the whole wrestling women thing that he did. Yep. I mean, it was
just being a heel about it, and yeah.
Some people use the term genius too liberally, I think, but for Andy Kaufman, I mean, I think comedic genius is not a stretch to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was a totally unique individual.
Mm-hmm.
So you obviously, how long have you been in radio at this point?
Oh my God, y'all are gonna make me feel really old here. So I started at radio in my hometown on a little AM station in Murfreesboro. I want to say I was a junior in college, maybe a senior in college, maybe. And so that would have been 1988, I think. So you guys were born, right?
I was born in 89. So.
Oh, Jesus. See, there you go. So, yeah. So my friend that I grew up with, his family owned this little AM radio station, and they also had a low-powered TV station. And I was majoring in radio and television in college, too. So we would work, and I did this little AM station. It was a daytimer. If you don't know what that is, that means you were only on broadcasting sun up to sundown. Okay. So it was very strange. I don't know how many of those are left, but it was 810 was the frequency. So you'd have to clear it at night for bigger stations that carried, and they would open up the signals so they could broadcast.
Simulcast, yeah.
Or basically, no, you can just pick them up. Like, AM, you can pick up 700 LW.
Right. Okay.
Actually, the one you can pick up furthest around here is 1530.
Yeah.
But like WSM out of Nashville, 650, you can listen to them. Once the sun goes down, you can bring them in. You can listen to the Grand Ole Opry in your car, truck, whatever on AM. Yeah. At night, comes in clear as a bell.
Huh.
Once the sun goes down.
I only listen to AM radio. My family makes fun of me, but I don't. 700 on the way into work and 1530 on the way home.
Well, try it out next time you're after dark. Put in 650. And WSM out of Nashville will be playing. That's the Grand Ole Opry station. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
That's pretty cool. Was there a reason that you were like, I want to major in this, or was it just kind of like on a whim?
Well, the funny thing is like you just mentioned with Jerry the King Lawler, I had aspirations of being a commercial artist.
Okay.
And my uncle was one, and I have I'm not tooting my own horn. I have very good talent at drawing, and like you were saying about about Jerry, drawing something and it would look like that. So my first semester at college, I was majoring in commercial art, and I had to take all these different art classes, and I quickly found out that my definition of art didn't jibe with the professor's definition of art, and I had to do so much drawing and so much stuff that I just slowly began to dislike it. And it turned to me, and so I had a 1.0 grade point average my first semester in college. So
you got me beat. I had a 0.98 after my first semester.
You're like D-Day from Animal House here.
That was that was because a little too much of this.
Well,
first semester.
I've always been fascinated with radio, so I loved radio, and I thought, well, I'm going to go into that. And eventually, though, I did have to go back because I made 2 Fs and a D in the 3 art classes they made me take. Oh. And I had to go back and retake 2 of them to bring those grades up. Not at the same time. I did them separate because it was killing my GPA. I mean, it was awful. And I lived with the F I got in art history for the rest. I was like, I'm never taking that class again. It was like, what's this column? Like, no thanks. I'm not.
I had the history of Asian art at like 8:25 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It was the absolute worst.
So then I got into radio and the television and stuff. So it was cool.
And when did you make the move to Cincinnati? Because as far as back as I can remember, I remember listening to you on B105.
Okay.
But I didn't start driving until 2005.
So that's when I came back on B105 because my daughter will turn 20 in July. And when I started on the air officially at B105 was in 2005 when my wife ex-wife was pregnant with our daughter. Okay. So March of this year, have been on the air 20 years just at B105. But I came here from Nashville in 98, and how I ended up over here was in Nashville. Like I said, it was the Heritage Rock Station. It was kind of the EBN of Nashville, right? That I'd grown up listening to, and I had gotten sent over to Japan for the 1998 Winter Olympics, Nagano, and it was part of Coca-Cola Radio. Yeah, Coca-Cola Radio. So they were bringing DJs over from different parts of America, and you were doing a week of doing your morning show live in Olympic Village. They had these radio studios set up, which was odd because you would do I would be on the air from 9 to midnight over there on Tuesday night, and it was Tuesday morning 6 to 9 in Nashville. I mean, the whole day, it was because you cross the date line going over, and it's big. But while I was there, you probably know this name, Amanda Orlando.
Yeah.
She's on Warm 98 now. And Amanda and I met over there. And at the time, she was working for Y96, Young Country Y96 here in Cincinnati, which was kind of like the sister station to B105, owned by the same company.
Is that 96.5?
96.5, yeah. Which is now 96 Rock.
Fox.
Oh, no, that's 92.5.
That's 92.5. I'm sorry.
96.5 is the Rock. Yeah.
Dude, I listened to so much 92.5 growing up. But when my dad would take me to school, we were listening to either 700 or 92.5.
There you go.
Those were the two.
Well, so Amanda and I hung out a lot. With my promotions director from Nashville was there with us, and me, her, and Amanda. And Amanda's co-host at the time was this guy that he was kind of, I don't want to call him a zero. I don't want to be like that, but he just didn't want to do much. So Amanda kind of hung out with us, and we were kind of the non-radio people that weren't always, hey, we were more chill and everything. So we kind of all hung out and did things together, and ended up when I came back from that, shortly after I got back in the spring of 98, I got fired from my station in Nashville. There was really no reason. I later found out why, but so I was just kind of on the beach, they say, and I reached out to Amanda, and she's like, hey, my co-host has kind of gone AWOL. You want to come up and hang out with me on the air for a few days? And I was like, sure. And this was like in August of 98, and I'd never been to Cincinnati before, so I drove up, and we started doing it at the morning show, and they said, can you come back next week? I'm like, sure. And then I think I finally moved up here in October. I mean, so
wow.
But the
Talk
funny
about
thing,
like serendipitous, man.
Yeah,
like you ended up just coming up on hey, you want to come do a few guest spots? And...
Sure. So the funny thing was they fired me in Nashville because that station the next year in '99 on April Fool's Day did a format change to country. And it was like, just imagine like EBN changing formats in Cincinnati to country music. Wow. I mean, and Nashville already had a bunch of country stations. So everybody thought it was a joke, but that's why, because they thought I probably couldn't do country radio.
And then, wow. And now you're winning freaking CMA awards.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think whatever, it brought me to here, and there's the reason I have my kids and everything else. So I would change it for the world. Man. So
that's really cool.
Speaking of CMA awards, I tried my best to research exactly how many awards you have won, but I couldn't find like a record. I could find news records. I could find news records of each one you won, but I couldn't find like an overall record. How many CMAs and ACMs have you won?
For ACMs, I have 4, and CMAs 2. So actually, I have most of them are in there with the whiskeys, but they're actually here's.
Oh, look.
That's the I keep them back there. The 2 of them. This is from 2020. That's the CMA.
So that's personality cool. Of the year, right?
Yeah, that's the large market radio broadcast personality of the year. And then this is a 2022 ACM.
That's a cool trophy too. I like that.
Yeah, that's kind of like a cowboy hat. The oldest ones, the ACMs kind of get tarnished after a while for some reason, and you can't clean them with Brasso. They just nothing cleans them. But I think they fixed that because this one seems to be staying pretty tight there. So yeah.
So and then how many? Like I know you individually have won, but I feel like the morning show won a ton.
Well, that was for that, yeah. The station has won quite a few, and but I mean, when I win, it's for the show. Yeah, the whole show wins. So, so 4 ACMs and 2 CMAs. The one weird thing was we managed to win. The Big Dave Show did both the ACM and the CMA in a COVID year, and we never got to go to the ceremonies for either one. The ACM, we had won the ACM right when everything started to shut down, and then they were like, our company at the time, our Hubbard said, we're not flying anybody anywhere unnecessarily right now. And then came around time for the CMAs, and we won that, and they eventually got the trophies, but there was no ceremony to go to, which is always fun to go to those ceremonies.
I bet.
So what was that like during the pandemic doing radio? Like, did you guys have any crazy regulations, like getting temperature checked and everything like that?
Well, during that time, we were still, now we're Hubbard Broadcasting. We're over in Oakley on Kennedy Avenue.
Yeah.
But during COVID, we were still at 2060 Reading Road down there, right across by Allied Glass. I don't know if when you're coming up to go to Hospital Hill and all that.
Exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
So we were right there. Once it got serious and everything really shut down, I had a piece of paper in my truck that, in case I got pulled over, said I had reason to be out.
I had the same one.
Yeah. And I would go to work. And by this time, all the other people on the show were working remotely, which at this time, this technology would have been a lot easier. We were using, at first we were using House Party, I think is what they called this app. But we also, to be able to see each other, but they were at home using, and it was very difficult to do. And so there for a long time at the station, because it was me, these are the only people I saw for like 2 months at work. Me, Jeff from Jeff and Jen on Q102. He was the only one coming in from there. And Holly from Mix 94.9 was there. Our program director, Grover, was still coming in to do stuff like do the music and everything else. And then that was it. Every once in a while, I'd see an engineer, and every once in a while, I'd see our general manager would come in, but not often. But it was weird. And what made it even more eerie was everything shut down in March. Remember, the NCAA tournament was the first thing that they scrubbed it, and everybody's like, "Oh, well, wait a minute, that's millions of dollars. So something really is going on here."
Right.
Our front office, which you could see, right, our front lobby, you could see what outside of the B105 studio was. Our receptionist had decorated it for St. Patrick's Day. So for like the next 7 or 8 months, all that St. Patrick's Day stuff was in the lobby until they started allowing people to come back into work. So
that sounds like a sequel to Groundhog's Day. It's St. Patrick's Day over and over again.
Yeah.
I went to Cincy Beer Fest, the convention center, like right before COVID broke out. Like, I feel like I was at the original super spreader event.
Yeah. I've only had it once. I had it, I caught it at a funeral for a dear friend of ours that worked at B105, and a lot of people caught it that day. And I guess we're coming up on it was MLK Day 3 years ago. Yeah. And the funny thing is I still don't have a sense of smell, really. I don't ever talk about it. You don't want to talk about it that much because some people are, COVID, what the hell? That's not real. And they still have that mindset. But I'm like, well, all I know is you can fart right now and I wouldn't smell it. And, so go right ahead. But
I had it one time, and work made me take 10 days off and didn't pay me for any of it. So I never got it again.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had no choice. I caught, if you remember this word being thrown around, flu-rona. Yeah. Because I actually tested positive for COVID and also had influenza B at the same time. So I was out for about 10 days, I think. Yeah.
And I had like 2 days worth of symptoms. It felt like a really bad sinus infection for me. I got lucky. I didn't,
Yeah, I felt I felt like garbage for about 4 days, and then after that, I just had no energy, and I had all these weird things. Like for about a week, all I smelled was cigarette smoke, like faintly, like somebody was smoking in a restaurant across the restaurant where you're not supposed to smoke, and it would give me headaches and stuff. But I mean, really, honestly, sometimes during the middle of the day, it's something I can smell stuff that has to be really strong. It's just it's a weird thing. And I asked my doctor, and they're like, "What the hell do we know? I mean, this whole thing was new, Like,
is your smell going to come back? I don't know."
Yeah. And they're like, "We don't know. I mean, at least they're not BSing me, So
yeah. Yeah, I had it a few times myself, man. But I think what I lost the most from that whole COVID time is my wife and I. We've been together 15 years, married for almost 10 now. And we had our honeymoon planned late, but we had it planned for April of 2020. We had our own Airbnb on Treasure Island in Florida, and
Oh,
we were going to go to WrestleMania together. We had a whole week off. Kids watched everything, ready to go, and they canceled WrestleMania. I was like,
oh no, not WrestleMania. No.
Yeah.
no, and it sucked, man.
Yeah.
It definitely it was rough.
Dude, I'll tell you what, that WrestleMania, God, I still remember that. So like what WWE did for WrestleMania that year, because that happened like right at, they were still thinking about canceling, and then they canceled it, and then they had it like in a studio with nobody. Nobody was there. It was just 2 guys, 2 girls in a ring, and everybody was watching from home, and it was jarring.
It's like watching a rehearsal.
Yeah, like watching without a crowd for the first time in history was like, oh, this sucks.
Oh yeah, well, dude, I mean, when we were doing the radio show, I'm like, there was nobody listening. You know, that's when radio stations realized how much they needed to start pushing smart speakers, and you know, like Alexa, play B105 in Cincinnati or whatever, and pushing the apps. Because it was a rude awakening to find out that a lot of people these days don't just have a standard radio in their home. I don't
have a radio in my home.
Yeah, you have it in the car, but if you're not in your car, you're being forced to work from home. Yeah. So that's when we really started pushing, you know, that.
Well, you guys, when did you guys start the pod? Because you guys have like a podcast too, right? The B105.
Well, we have stuff. I mean, I put up the highlights of our show every day, as a podcast. But I mean,
when did that start? Like post COVID, when you realized like, hey, we need to get more like content out there and stuff.
We were doing that. I mean, we came up with some great stuff during COVID. We would do what did we call it? Where we would get artists on with us, because it was really easy to get artists. And by then I had discovered the platform that you guys are using, StreamYard, which made it it was so much better than Zoom.
Shout out to StreamYard.
Yeah.
We love this thing.
So we were doing show and tell, and we called it the Big Dave Show and Tell. And we would get different country artists on, like we're on right now, and they would just show us stuff. And we got local celebrities, like we had Tanya O'Rourke on once, Channel 9, but Brantley Gilbert like showed us his garage and his man cave and stuff.
That's cool.
And that was fun. But one of the fun things we did, I had this idea about kids not being able to go on field trips or anything, and teachers, a lot of them are still working remote and everything. So we started doing these Big Dave Show virtual field trips where we would go out and record video, go into all these different places, like places that kids would go on a field trip, like to the Grader's Ice Cream Factory or the Cincinnati Zoo, and we found out a lot of other places, I can't remember the products. Gold Medal products in Cincinnati. They make popcorn machines. Like if you go to Texas, those places like that. So what we would do is go out and shoot a video there, and then I'd come back and put it together. And then we would do a Zoom call with teachers that signed up, and they would stream it to their kids at home.
That's brilliant.
That's cool.
Yeah, and we would always have the person, say Big Rig was the guy that we went to his place. We would have Big Rig on with us to do a Q&A live after we showed them the field trip. And those were really popular. I mean, it was cool. My favorite one was, and we didn't actually go to this, but where they make the Super Bowl balls, Wilson.
Yeah.
It's in Ada, Ohio.
Really?
They make, they do that's where they make Wilson footballs and volleyballs and everything. He took a GoPro and went around, and we watched them make the balls for the Super Bowl that year. And they make them all by hand. It's not on like a assembly line. I mean, it was amazing how many different hands touched each one of those balls. But like coming up this Sunday, the AFC Championship game, NFC's first.
Go Bills.
But in the NFC, what is it? The Commanders and the Eagles. So and right after the Bills and Chiefs game, when they know the two teams, they start, because they've got to make. These numbers might be wrong, but they make like 110. Each team gets like 110 balls, and they get 55 of them almost immediately. So they start making them, and once they know the teams, because the teams that are in the Super Bowl are on the ball, their logos. So
wow,
they start making those, and it's it's pretty amazing.
Like they're sitting there at work watching the TV, like, all right, let's go.
Yep. Well, we got the Chiefs and we got or whoever. Yeah. So yeah, that's cool.
Probably the Chiefs.
Yeah. I had called on the air here recently. I said I thought it was going to be a Lions-Ravens Super Bowl, and then
I'd have been all in for that.
Yeah.
I thought for sure the Lions.
I wanted the Lions real bad, but man, the story, if Jaden Daniels wins the Super Bowl as a rookie,
it's amazing.
Also, he led me to a fantasy football championship this year and won me $600. So thank you, Jaden Daniels.
All right. Now wait, hang on a second, because he lost me a fantasy football championship. I was in the championship. I'm the commissioner at Hubbard for our fantasy league. I'm against the guy. I had freaking Burrow. This is week 17, right? Yeah, week 17 because we didn't do week 18. Burrow had a huge game, like 50-something fantasy points in our league. I had a massive lead going in. 36 points. I was ahead 36 points over this guy going into and he had Jaden Daniels. Gets to the fourth quarter, and Atlanta throws that. They scored that touchdown too soon and went ahead. And I was like, damn it. I was ahead of him by 2 points. Jaden Daniels had scored 34 points at that point. I had 36-point lead going in. And then they went into overtime, and I was like, damn it, I'm cooked. Yeah. And then the freaking Commanders got the ball and drove down the field, and he ended up beating me by 5 points. And I was like, nah. I thought I had it wrapped. I was like, no, he doesn't score 36.
Dude, I won a game this year, not with Jaden Daniels, but with Jamar Chase the night he dropped like 55 points in PPR fantasy leagues.
200-yard, yeah.
He had like 200-something yards, like 3 touchdowns. I was down like 48 points going into Monday night, and he dropped 55 on Monday night and won me the game.
Wow. Well, I mean, I had Burrow. My team this year was Burrow You Alive was the name of my team. Up until this year, I had been the Mixon administration. I'd had Joe Mixon as my running back. Yeah, but Burrow was definitely especially the second half of the year. My God, he was a fantasy machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've had the league with us for our show for 2 solid years now, and Mike's won the championship both years.
Yes. I was in it with him this year. My team names this year across all teams were I don't know if you've ever seen I Think You Should Leave on Netflix. Tim Robinson.
Yeah.
So they were all I Think You Should Leave references. My team name in our league was Bart Harley Jarvis, which is the super aggressive baby. And we almost did it this year, but couldn't get it done. Which our league is insane, by the way. Our point scoring, dude, our quarterbacks get points for passes attempted.
Oh, geez.
Our games are like 460 to like 390. It's crazy.
Oh, I love that. Do you guys do in any of your leagues? Because we do in ours. We have a 12 teams, and it's a $40 buy-in. So I'm doing the math. It's $480. Is that right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have a setup where at the end of the regular season in fantasy, whoever has scored the most points during the regular season before our fantasy playoffs begins gets 25% of the pot.
Ooh, I like that.
And then the winner gets the rest. Okay. So it's pretty cool. I mean, that way, there's 2 winners, but I mean, you're still getting a pretty good chunk of change.
You get rewarded for having a good season. Sometimes,
our league doesn't have a buy-in. We just do it for shits and gigs.
Yeah.
The one that I won though was $100 buy-in. It was my first year playing in that league. It was an auction draft, which I've never done before, and I never had a true RB2. I had Jahmyr Gibbs was my RB1. And I drafted Ezekiel Elliott as my RB2. He played 2 games for me, and I was on a flyer the rest of the year. Zach Charbonnet, shout out to you. Every time that Kenneth Walker III got hurt, Zach Charbonnet stepped up for me. Alexander Madison stepped up for me. And I was picking players up left and right. But auction drafts, insane. Dude, I picked up Jaden Daniels in like the 10th round for $1.
Hey, well,
and he was my starter.
That paid off.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Listen, we got to take a quick second to say hi to some of these guys in the comments. We see you guys down there going crazy. Some of you guys have had a few more libations than us.
No, we're all having them, right?
Yeah, but
right.
we see you guys down in there commenting. We wish we could pull it up more. But
no one's saying anything bad about me.
Trauma King, that is indeed a John Moxley Cyclones jersey.
No one's said a single bad thing.
I love this shirt so much. I don't know, Dave, are you familiar with John Moxley? He was okay. So he's like our hometown hero, obviously being from Cincinnati. And I love, as soon as I saw this shirt, I was like, of any Moxley shirt, I have to have this one. Because
I did have a request in the comments. I mean to cut you off there.
Go ahead.
I did have a request in the comments to show you one of my tattoos, Dave, because you're a Cincinnati guy, and I think you'll get a kick out of it.
All right. This isn't nudity, is it?
It's
the coney.
It's a cheese coney.
Yeah.
Next to my championship.
The Intercontinental
got the belt on all the time there. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to show you the cheese coney, man. I'm a Cincinnati
here
guy.
He loves showing off his wiener.
Hold on. So here is a picture I keep on my desk of me back in the day when I was much more fit, I think. I was young. This is a guitar that I still have that over the years I've had autographed by all the members of KISS.
Oh my God.
And this is, I don't know if I'm trying
That's
to
you?
Yeah, that's me. Dude, that's in the 90s. Come on.
Was stacked back in the 90s.
That's low, Dave.
And that right there, that is what's on my shoulder, the tattoo. That guitar is a Gibson Epiphone. And if you look in the very back right behind us, that's Gene Simmons is kind of right in there somewhere.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome, dude.
I have that guitar, and that particular show was a July show in Nashville in the summer on the riverfront on a barge downtown on the Cumberland River. It was the Gibson guitar. Was it 150th, 100th anniversary show? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And they had, of course, because it was Gibson, they were able to get KISS, and this was during the time when they didn't have makeup on, but they were able to get them to play for like $30,000 and a bunch of guitars. And the funny thing was their whole stage setup was on its way over to Monsters of Rock overseas. So it was just a stripped down show, and everybody kept thinking Garth Brooks was going to show up because they had put out that Kiss My Ass tribute album, and Garth Brooks had been on there, and he didn't, but everybody thought Garth Brooks is going to come out and do Hard Luck Woman with him, which a funny story. A guy I worked with at KDF in Nashville, his afternoon guy, Joe Elvis, was in a band called Government Cheese. He was very plugged in to the music scene. He had a buddy who, being in Nashville, his job was to go around and staff or stock, like with instruments, these recording sessions in Nashville. And one night he got a call for a bunch of acoustic guitars, and he shows up at the studio and walks in, and it was Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley and Garth Brooks. And he's like, what the hell's going on here? He had to sign like NDAs and everything, to not tell who was in town doing what. But they were getting ready to record Hard Luck Woman for that KISS tribute album.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which was pretty cool. And he later found out why they were there. But yeah, he was like, wait a minute, Garth Brooks and KISS? Man. What's going on here? Yeah, exactly. Garth Brooks is a big KISS fan, though. Very cool.
I've always been interested in KISS. My first, introduction to them was in WCW. They had a KISS demon that wrestled. Yeah. But earlier this year, when they were at US Bank, a friend of mine hit me up, and he said, "Hey, man, I have 2 suite tickets to KISS. Do you want them?" Yes, I do. Yeah, and I went and saw KISS in I think it was TD Plummer or something like that. I went in their suite, thanks to a buddy of mine, and I got to see
how you did that.
Oh, it was amazing. That was the first show I called off as a a DWO guy. I was like, look, guys, I just got
I
free
remember
time.
you tried to call in and it was all like scratchy and grainy. I was like, dude, just enjoy the show.
Yeah, whatever. Well,
No.
it is. It was. They were my all-time favorite band. I mean, they're stopped touring now, but I mean, I saw them I think over 20 times. But
Shit.
got to meet them a couple of times, too. They're very nice and very cool. But all through my years of meeting people, rock and country, the ones that are graceful and nice are the ones that have longevity. The jerks are soon sifted out of the thing. It's usually the hard and fast rule there.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Dave, I got to ask you, man, before we're going to eventually start winding down here, but I got to ask you before we get too far, who do you like in country today? Who is, for me right now, like I am fucking obsessed with Zach Top.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Dude.
I feel like he found a genie and asked to sound like an even better Joe Diffie. I feel like he's just tremendous, man.
Joe Diffie or Aaron Tippin, anything from that. He has that feel, man, and I love it. And him, I love what I've heard from him so far. Ella Langley, I think, has just a tremendous voice. She's the "Excuse Me, You Look Like You Love Me" girl. I have listened to some of her other stuff too, and it's sorry, Jack and Coke. It is tremendous. So so Ella Langley, I like what I've heard from her so far. I honestly like Megan Maroney a lot because my daughter, who's 19, like I said, over Christmas we were going out to eat, and she's like, once I don't know if you have teenage daughters, but they control whatever music you're listening to in the truck or.
Dude, I have a 9-year-old daughter, and she controls what I listen to in the truck.
So she's like, let's just listen to Megan Maroney. So we just started playing it. And other than the stuff we've played on B105, I was like, man, this is really good. And I like it because she writes her stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I always seem to have more respect. Nothing wrong with songwriters. That's the bread and butter. But people that can write their own things or at least are involved in that, I think it makes it even more meaningful,
Yeah, I kind of had that switch because like in high school I listened to B105 religiously and all the big acts and everything. I went to Riverbend every freaking year. I got thrown out of whatever was the big country concert they had at Riverbend where it was like a bunch of acts there. It was like Country Thunder.
Oh yeah, was that the night of the mudslide?
Yeah, I was a mudslider.
Yeah, that's the reason why there's turf at Riverbend.
Yeah, I got tossed out. Yeah,
I was proud. We were broadcasting.
Welcome.
We were broadcasting live that night. It was Montgomery Gentry. Montgomery Gentry was the headliner, and there was a bunch of other acts with them. And
I got thrown out right before Eric Church came on, and I was pissed.
You want to hear a funny
mudslider?
If you guys don't mind, I'll tell you a funny story about Eric Church.
Dude, bring it on.
We're good, brother.
All right, so Eric Church, when he first started, back when we used to have the B105 free stage at Taste of Cincinnati,
yeah,
it would always be these newer acts, that our PD, whoever it was at the time, would book and bring in, and so Eric Church was there one year, and he had just gotten started. Really, he had "How About You" out. That was one of his first songs,
so good.
and he had come here, had already played at a Heritage Bank Center or whatever the hell it was called at that point, U.S. Bank Center, with I think Hank Williams Jr. and I want to say Leonard Skinner. I think it was, and Eric Church opened up. It was like one of those bills. Okay. And so he had been here. So first of all, during Eric Church, I noticed quickly, just being observant, that the crowd that was there to see him, it was a lot of farm boys with their ball caps on backwards and their actual boots. You could tell they actually worked in. They weren't for show. They knew every word.
They were authentic.
Yeah, they were authentic. They knew every word.
Trust me. I've been to Riverbend. I've seen the boots with the tags on them, bud.
Yeah, exactly. So these guys were real workers, and they knew they knew every word to every song that he was doing on that stage. So I was like, man, there's something here with this. But anyway, after they would play on our B105 free stage, they would go into we had a booth where the artists would go and they'd sign stuff. So there was this huge line for Eric Church. This is it's not mean, but it's funny. So I just work in the crowd, talking to the people that are waiting to go up and get something signed or say hey to him. So I run into this couple that had met him when he had been at Cincinnati like 6 months before with Hank Jr. and whoever. And let's just say for whatever it was Barb and Mike, whatever.
Sounds good.
So I'm talking to them, and they're still a good distance away. So when they got a little closer to Eric, I walked over to Eric and I said, "Hey, these people that are coming up," and I kind of pointed them out nonchalantly. I said, "Their names are Barb and Mike, and they met you when you were here opening for Hank Jr. earlier." And he's like, "Cool, thank you." And when they walked up, he goes, "Barb, Mike, how you doing?" They lost their shit. Yeah, they were like, and he never corrected and said, "Dave told me who you were." He was like, "I remember. Didn't we meet? You know?" And oh my God, it made. And I hope they're not watching right now, and I ruined the magic for him, because then when they left, he turned around to me. He goes, "Thanks for doing that, man." I was like, "No problem." I mean, it was just a cool moment for them.
Well,
they probably still talk about that.
Steve, tell them your Rowdy Piper story.
Yeah,
that is right in that.
Oh, that was my guy when I was growing up, Rowdy.
I drove all the way out of my way to go meet Rowdy Piper because I'm a big fan of They Live. I'm obviously a big wrestling fan too, but I wanted to go meet him. It was a They Live reunion. Him, Keith David, and Meg Foster were there. But anyways, I wait in the line. I go up to him, and I had just started my band, which I'm in a death metal band, by the way.
Awesome.
B105 all day, but
dude, listen. I always tell people, don't be offended. I love all types of music. If you worked in a peanut butter factory, you wouldn't go home and eat peanut butter all the time. You know, you're gonna do other stuff.
Touche.
But anyways, I walked up to him and I was like, "Man, you know, I'm starting my band." I was like, "What advice can you give me from wrestling that would correlate to my band? You know, what advice can you give me?" He's like, "Anybody that cares about you ever. If they want to come up to you and take a picture, they want you to sign a CD, they want you to do anything." He's like, "Whether you're having the worst day of your life or the best day of your life, take those 5 minutes and make it the best moment of their lives. Because for all you know, you could be the one thing keeping them on keeping them on the straight and narrow, and this could be the biggest moment they're ever going to have." And he took, it took forever to get through his line because he was taking 5-10 minutes with everyone. You know what I mean? It seemed like he was just literally taking the time to speak to people. And, I've took that with me forever. Anybody that's ever wanted an autograph from me at any of our shows, I have went out of my way. I'll take autographs, pictures, whatever. It don't matter.
Exactly. It's just, those are the people that make you when you're somebody like that. So, of course, you take care of them. I saw that, speaking about Kiss, when I was in college, they did an in-store. This is non-makeup days where they signed at I think it was I can't remember the name of the record store in Nashville. It was on their Crazy Nights tour. And they didn't do those often, but they came and did that. And me and some buddies went and met them. And I actually have something back here signed. I can grab it and show you two in a second. But I heard after they signed autographs there for like an hour and a half, then they went to the Municipal Auditorium in Nashville. And as they pulled up, stood out there and signed autographs for another 30 or 40 minutes. They didn't have to do that. They were Kiss. But that's why they were still, around for 50 years. So
yeah, and it makes you a bigger fan of them because they are like that,
Oh, my legs aren't too white. Hold on, I'm going to show you something here. So this, from that night, this is what I got signed. It was over on the other side. So right here. That was a poster I had gotten from a record store promoting the album. And this up here, this part is perforated, so you could have torn it off once the album was in stores.
You ain't tearing that off.
No, I didn't. But I mean, if they were, this was for them to advertise in the store.
Right.
Okay.
So
incredible.
Let's see. This is when Eric Carr and Bruce Kulick were in the band. So there's Paul Stanley right there, Gene Simmons. I think that's Bruce Kulick, and that's Bruce Kulick, and that's Eric Carr, who's passed away. But so yeah, that's one of the cooler things. That's
actually one of my, like I said, my daughter's 9 years old. Her favorite Scooby-Doo crossover movie is Scooby-Doo meets Kiss.
Yeah.
And
is she watching right now?
No, she's not watching right now.
Because I can do a killer dead on Scooby-Doo. I was going to tell
you.
I was going to
do it, and I will show it.
Because first off,
what's her name?
Emmy.
I'm going to try this. I had to get a little jack down the throat there. Oh, Emmy, you need to be a rat. There we go. That's all of my imitations are like so old that
Dude, she'll get a kick out of that. She loves. Dude, I'll tell you what. I remember when she started watching Scooby-Doo, because obviously you got the streaming platforms that like Max has like every Scooby-Doo ever on it right now.
Yeah.
And she watched like the Scooby-Doo meets WWE and all that, and then she saw the Kiss one and she just clicked on it. She didn't know who the hell Kiss was.
Yeah.
And it's one of her absolute favorites. And I sat there and watched it with her. Man, that fucking holds up. It's a good movie.
Is that the one where Kiss sings that a cappella, Don't Touch My not ascot, what do they call it? It's like a thing.
It's ascot. Yeah.
But they do an a cappella version almost of it. It's so un-Kiss-like, but you can find it where they sing. Yeah,
I'm a big
the biggest part of that movie is I Was Made for Loving You. There's a whole scene, like battle scene of them running away from like aliens or something. Like there's a Kiss planet.
Yeah.
And it's like all like supernatural sci-fi, whatever. But there's a whole like they're playing their instruments as weapons, and they play I Was Made for Loving You, and Emmy loves that song. Like, dude, in the truck, that song comes on, you do not press the next button.
That's the funniest thing. Played. I'm a music nerd and a Kiss fan, and I love charts and different things. And what you just mentioned there, I Was Made for Loving You. You ask everybody, what you think's the biggest Kiss song ever? They're going to say Rock and Roll All Night or something like that.
Yeah.
I Was Made for Loving You is by far the biggest song they ever released.
Dude, I love that. I love it.
I mean, worldwide, it was #1 in a couple of dozen countries, and recently it joined the Spotify 1 billion stream club.
Wow!
It's been streamed 1 billion times, and for older songs
about it.
Well, I mean, now listen, I just watched Fall Guy, and it's featured prominently in that.
Yeah.
It's everywhere now. All of a sudden, this song is just taking on a new life, and it's something. Paul Stanley came home from Studio 54 and was like listening to disco music and dancing to it all night, and was like, "This stuff is easy to write. I think we could write something like this." There you go.
Yeah.
Over 1 billion. Rock and Roll All Night has 500 million.
Yeah, so there you go. That's how
almost double the plays. That's crazy.
And by the way, you want a little trivia on that particular song?
Sure.
Who do you think's playing drums on it?
Ooh, I feel like I know. I've heard this.
Well, you would say Peter Criss because he was the drummer of Kiss, but it wasn't. It was Anton Fig, who played for David Letterman on The World's Most Dangerous Band for years. He was the drummer in that. Yeah. Good buddies with Ace Frehley and played on his solo album, but that's Anton Fig. He actually played on every song on that album except for one that Peter Criss sang. So,
dude, I'll tell you what, I'm not trying to age you at all, but you and my dad would be best fucking friends.
You did just age me. I love it.
My dad is the biggest music nerd. Like anytime a music like documentary comes out, he's texting me like, dude, you got to watch this on Netflix or whatever. Like one of his favorite documentaries ever is it was a house band, Wrecking Crew. Did you ever watch that?
Yes. I just watched it. Those guys loves like the session musicians.
Yeah. Like these guys were backup, like the musicians on some of the biggest hits
Beach Boys
ever.
Stuff.
Dude, that's so crazy you mentioned that. Mike McConnell was talking about that on 700 this morning.
Yeah, here's a funny thing. So in Nashville, okay, so my name is Dave Chandler. Okay, so back in Nashville, this was in the days of landlines, and everybody had a land phone. You had a phone book. You know, kids these days don't know what a phone book is.
Yeah,
but,
white pages and yellow pages.
White pages and yellow pages. Yeah. So obviously there was a session bass player in Nashville named Dave Chandler. And I would get messages all the time on my phone from people calling, "Hey, Dave, we're going to need you for this session. Can you show up? Blah, 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 blah." And I felt bad. So
Sure.
I would call them back and say, hey, you got the wrong Dave Chandler, and I don't want this guy to miss a gig.
Right.
So, keep trying because it's not me. I don't play the bass. I play the guitar, but I don't play the bass. You know? I probably could do something, but not as good as probably he does because he's a session player in Nashville. So
You just show up and are just terrible.
I'm just gonna play
Trash
the
that
root.
poor guy's name.
You'll know this wrestling T-shirt guy. I'm just gonna play the root chords. You know, I can do the bass and ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom. So
listen, I'm a lead singer. I don't know how to do anything. I can carry a tune. That's about as far as it goes. I write all my
our intro song. That's him singing. That's
good.
That's
that was a good song. I was jamming to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I do a little bit of rap too, but my band we're just party metal. That's all we do. We've played
his band, Dave. I'll tell you what, his band's fun, man. We've been to a couple of their shows, and their band is called Toy Box with 2 X's, and during their shows, they have 2 guys on stage that their sole job is to throw the array of stuffed animals and toys on the stage out into the crowd, and then you are encouraged to throw them back while they're playing.
That's awesome.
And people love it, man. It's got us to play with everyone from Quiet Riot to the Nappy Roots to Insane Clown Posse. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
All kinds of random acts. We've gotten the chance to play with a lot of them just because of the party act that we bring. A lot of places.
Very fun. Well, I'm loving this. I mean, how many are people actually commenting and saying things right now?
We seriously have
tons.
So
right
many.
Now.
The singers do nothing. Great line.
Yeah.
Eric Carr, legend, R.I.P.
I love that. Yeah.
Kiss will always be the greatest
band boys. Or is he saying boys band? Yeah. I wish I could pull up pictures and stuff and share them and show you. I mean, I have some of the stuff.
Speaking of, you have just, by the way, now that we can officially call you our friend, you know, you've been on the show. We are officially, when you talk about the 6 degrees of separation, we are 1 degree separated from Taylor Swift now. So all of our daughters think that we're cooler now because we have
I have to tell the Swift. Have I got to tell the Taylor Swift story?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, hang on a second. So I'm going to have to get something ready, but I have, because so many people ask, I got to get to, and this new update on Apple, I'm going to find
Bro, it threw me off so much.
Every time they do it, they change the freaking.
So much.
They change the phone, the pictures. Okay.
App.
All right. So the Taylor Swift story. I hope I'm not covering up my microphone there. All right. Taylor Swift story is.
I didn't realize there was an update. Mine hasn't updated yet. Go ahead.
Back in, I want to say, I was doing, because when I started back on B105 from 96, I was doing 7 to midnight. So I said that was in 2005. Probably 2006, maybe. I used to do this feature called the Night Fights on B105. And what it was every night there would be 2 new songs take on each other, and then listeners would call in and vote for which one they wanted to stay up.
Oh, I love those.
So it was a chore, though, because you needed to find, I had to have at least one, I had to have 1 new song every night. 5 nights a week, it's tough to find stuff that's coming out that's worthy of playing on the air, because you don't want to send people running, turning the knob. So I would be back, and this was in the days when, program directors would get stacks of CDs, CD singles and stuff. And I'm back on our program director's desk going through stuff. He kept a stack of new stuff that he just opened up in the mail. And I see this Taylor Swift, Tim McGraw. And I'm like, okay, that's the name of the song, Tim McGraw. Let me go listen to it. And I listened to it, and I'm like, holy crap, this is really good. It reminded me of Dina Carter's Strawberry Wine. It had that kind of vibe to it. Yeah. And I was like, all right, so, and this is going to go back. So I'm like, I want to have something to say about this girl when we play her as the challenger tonight. So I get on her MySpace page.
Holy shit.
That's how long ago it was. So I'm on Taylor's MySpace page, and I'm reading about her from Pennsylvania, blah, 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 blah. and very young, obviously. I think she was 15 and 16 maybe. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to send her a message on MySpace. And I said, hey, well, no, I said, all right, hey, this is Dave at B105 in Cincinnati. I just want to let you know that your song is going to be the challenger tonight on our night fight segment. I just did it as a courtesy because I know she's an artist and probably like to know that. Boom. Writes right back. Oh my God. What? Blah, 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 blah. She wants to know. And I said, yeah. So she was super excited because I don't think she had been played anywhere in a city the size of Cincinnati yet. The song was really new, you know. So she says, they'll tell me how I did. Make sure you let me know. Of course, I play her, and whoever was the champion, she blew him out of the water.
Yeah.
People loved it. So I wrote her back, you won. Oh, cool. Let me know. So we begin this conversation of every night. She's asking me, how did I do the night before? Who did I beat? So ironically enough, she won, I think, like 14 nights in a row or something, but she ended up finally getting beat by Eric Church. How About You, the song we were talking about.
Yeah.
So
Full circle.
Now, fast forward about maybe a year later, she's exploded. All right. She's already taken off. They're coming through Cincinnati on their way back to Nashville, and she's with her mom and her manager, and they're like, we need to use your studio. Can Taylor use the studio to record a satellite interview? And they were like, sure. Our engineers set it up. So I go in and I'm like, all right. They're like, who's that? It's Taylor Swift. I was like, oh. So I walk in, and now granted, this is like a year and a half later. And I walk up to her, and I walk in, and I said, hey, Taylor, I'm Big Dave. Jumps up out of the chair, almost breaks my neck, hugging me, and says, my MySpace buddy. And then
Shout out to Tom.
Then we took this picture.
That's so awesome.
Holy crap,
So,
dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maya and Goose and any other kids in my family, look, we kind of know her. Sort of.
Yeah. So then, let me see if I got the other one on here too.
That's crazy.
Then a couple of years later, she's about to release Red. By now, she's huge. Probably close to one of the biggest music stars on the planet. Yeah. So her and her record label, I was doing afternoons then, and Chris Carr and company were in the mornings. Scott Borchetta, the president of her label, they fly up to Cincinnati to do an interview the night before the album comes out with our morning show. And granted, what all she's been through since that whole time happened. We go in to talk to her after the interview, and she goes, oh, yeah, I remember you. Absolutely. Didn't I lose to Eric Church on the night fights? What? Or on your thing?
Wow.
I'm just like, wait, how do you freaking remember that? I barely remember that, and it was my show.
Crazy.
She was the nicest person, and she's very tall, by the way. And that's why I've always, politics, everything else aside, I think whatever she can do no wrong in my eyes, because she was a genuine person who,
That reminds me of Michael Jordan. Like Michael Jordan will probably tell you every loss he had,
or miss. I'm trying to find the picture we took that day, and I'm having trouble finding it. But
I bet she could have dated a Bengal instead of a Chief. But other than that, I think she's great.
I mean,
hey,
isn't Joe Burrow
at least he
single?
went to UC, man. At
He
least
did
he's
go
an
to UC.
Ohio boy.
I love Kelsey. I'll give you that. I
at least he's Cleveland, Cincinnati.
As a Bengals season ticket holder, I can't give any love to the Chiefs at all.
So all right. So there, I was talking about there's the tattoo I have on my shoulder. Is the first one I got. Let me see. I don't know if it's doing it justice there.
Closer?
Yeah. Closer. Oh, there it goes.
There it is.
Hell yeah. Katie, yeah.
So I'll show. I mean, if you want, I'll show you a couple of other.
I'm honestly surprised that Cephas doesn't have a WEBN.
Me and Reba.
Reba!
That was at the that was at the ACM.
This is insane, because I was thinking about this as our intro was playing, because I've been thinking of new ideas for our intro video, because we got all that footage done by our good buddy. His handle is Tusslemania on Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. he did all that footage. But I thought if we ever do a different intro, like, you know, say we got like multiple ones and we just, you know, rotate them.
Yeah.
Do the Reba intro where they're like doing something and then they look up at
the old sitcom, like, hey, like
that
a
would
camera.
fit us
I
very
think that-
well.
All right, I've got one more here. If you can see it, this is okay. We used to have over at Belterra Park in the Stadium Club. They got that little bar behind the stage there. Stage behind the bar. We used to always have the opening acts come over, maybe play a couple of songs and do pictures with people before the show. And that's Luke Combs.
Oh yeah, dude.
We actually had him over there at Belterra Park before. I don't remember who he was opening up for, but
modern day Garth Brooks.
I'll tell you what, man. There's something really cool about like your story with Taylor Swift, meeting people before they really blow up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because I actually got to go see Tyler Childers. He played before he got like huge.
Mm-hmm.
He played at Wimmy Diddle Music Festival in Hamilton, Ohio, which is this old boy's stomping grounds. Free concert. It was free to get in. You just literally walked up and there was a stage and, you know, whatever. And I watched this. I was already a fan of him. So I was like, I got to go to this concert. And seeing him there, and then I paid a ridiculous amount of money to go to Bourbon and Beyond this year and see him headline. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy to see.
You just never know
that
you
growth.
Never know. Yeah. Not trying to make everything about Kiss, but a guy I worked with in Nashville, when I was just getting started at KDF, the one I just showed you the tattoo of, one of the guys on the morning show was stand-up comedian and been, you know, traveled a lot. And he said, you know, we were talking one night drinking, and he said, you know, one of the biggest regrets in my life, which is odd, but when you hear it, you'll be like, oh, well, that would be a big regret. He said he was back in New York in the early 70s, and him and a buddy were walking through an area where there's a bunch of clubs. So there was this line out the door for this one club, and they're like, hey, what's going on here? They stopped and asked some people, what's happening? What are you guys all waiting in line for? And one of the guys said, somebody in the crowd said, there's this new band. They're called Kiss. They wear makeup. They do all this crazy stuff, and everybody wants to check them out. And they're like, all right. And they just kept walking. And he's like, to this day, I'm like, damn it. Why didn't I get in the line?
Yeah.
And so I could just say, I was there when they were starting in the clubs in New York. You know, to be able. So, I mean, there's always something about, you never know who you're going to see. Opening acts, you never know who you're going to see. Yeah. Treat them right, because, you know, listen to them.
Well, and it's, you know, I see like one of my favorite artists on this planet is Ward Davis, who is a notorious songwriter forever. Came out with his own stuff. I've seen him at I don't know if you've ever been to a show at Southgate House down in Newport.
Mm-hmm.
Great venue, by the way. But I saw him there like 2 years ago. Super fun.
He's very funny too.
Oh, he's hilarious. It was right at the end of the pandemic.
Who was it? Really the police department. He was having the
Hayes, Kansas.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
yeah. So he got arrested in Hayes, Kansas for having weed. So he's had a beef with them since then, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But very funny guy, very funny follow. Like I remember one time he posted on Instagram, and it was literally a picture of all of his like old like He-Man toys.
Oh,
and
nice.
He was like, these are collectibles, and da da da. He was like, my wife doesn't think so, but if she was a He-Man toy, she'd be Battle Cat's butthole. He's so fucking funny, dude. Like he'll comment on Hayes Police Department's like Facebook page. Like they'll post like,
oh yeah,
so and so brought us donuts this morning. He was like, are those donuts filled with weed or whatever?
Yeah. But they give it as good as he gives too.
Yeah,
they give it back to
it's
they
so
have a great
funny.
time with it. Yeah,
but he's good buddies with Cody Jinks. Like he co-wrote I'm Not the Devil with him and like a bunch of stuff. He wrote so many songs for so many big people, but I think he's a great singer-songwriter. But like at his show at Southgate House, I mean, there's 80 to 100 people there, whatever. It's a little like old, used to be a church down in Newport. And this was like right at the end of the pandemic. It's in like December. And he's talking about he's like, man, isn't this nice? Is everybody just breathing all over one another?
You miss breathing all over each other, right?
Yeah, he's funny as hell, man.
Sometimes you hope like your favorite acts like never. I mean, you want them to be popular and be successful, but at the same time, it's like you don't want to get them to where you lose them at those small intimate shows. Like I follow Whitey Morgan around. I've seen him in Louisville, Lexington, and Cincinnati, like on rotation. And it's like, it's so intimate. And I seen him open for Jamie Johnson, and it's such a different feel when it's at a larger venue like that. Like,
the intimacy is gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know if Dave, you ever been to a show down at Manchester Music Hall in Lexington?
I have not been there. No.
Oh, it's a great venue.
A fantastic venue.
It's one of those venues. So I went down there, Manchester Music Hall in Lexington. I saw Paul Cawthon, Cody Jinks, and Ward Davis.
Dude,
Paul Cawthon and Ward Davis opened for Cody Jinks. One of the best concerts I've ever been to. You can fit maybe 150 people in this place.
Yeah.
And it was asses to ankles, everybody standing. But the energy in there, it's the same thing like when we go to like independent wrestling shows. If you've never been to an independent wrestling show, you got a standing invite to Dayton, my friend.
Yeah, they're hungry, man. They're trying to make a name.
You want to come out and see one personally, we'll put you some free tickets on the guest list, man.
I'd love it. I'd love to see your band sometime too.
Hey, absolutely tickets on the guest list to that too, for sure.
It's a guaranteed good time.
Oh yeah, I'll catch a stuffed animal.
We are already almost a half hour over our normal time, which is cool. We don't mind talking too long.
I don't care. I'm happy sitting here.
We don't want to keep it going for too terribly long, but we do have one question that I want to make sure we get in because we try to get it in with every guest. Okay. I want to make sure we get it before we forget. And it's something that Mike normally asks. So Mike, go ahead and hit him with it.
Yeah. So, we're all dads here, we're all very budget-minded individuals. So we have a certain criteria, we don't want to say judge our guest on, but, gauge them, if you will. Mm-hmm. What do you keep your thermostat set to?
In my house right now, my thermostat is set to 68.
Yes.
Man.
Is that the right answer?
68 to 70.
68, 69, and 70 are all acceptable answers.
I like to sleep cold. I like to wake up in the middle of the night and find the cold spot. In fact, I was telling Grover Collins the other day that the other night when I was going to bed and it was already down to 2. Yeah. And I got it in my mind. I was like, you know what? I should probably put a blanket on the bed tonight, even though my windows are closed and it's still 68 in here, no matter what it is outside. But it just gets you into your mind. So I put this blanket that I normally have on the couch in there on top of me. And I didn't sleep good. All night long, I woke up hot. And then in the morning when I woke up, I was sweating. I was like, why did I do that? 68's fine. I'll just stay there. I didn't need that blanket. Didn't need it.
Oh, man. That might be the best thermostat answer we've had yet.
What are some of the other ones?
Dude, listen, we had Skinner from WWE, WWF days. He said 78. Like, what is wrong with you?
That's a sauna, man.
He lives in Florida, to be fair, so like 78 is probably relative.
Is there anything worse than sweating?
No, there is not.
Unless you did something to sweat before.
As a profusely sweaty guy, I hate it. Like I actually saw a meme the other day, and I'm trying to remember it. It was like, I want my house to be cold enough that when I want to be able to warm up with covers, and then if the covers fall off, I get cold again, and then I cover up with covers. That's what I want.
Yeah. Exactly.
So if you're cold, put more covers on. and deal with it.
That's why the
Yes.
good Lord made blankets.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't need it the other night. I keep hearing that. Is that a dog somewhere?
That is my dog. That is Briscoe.
Okay. I hear like a dog tag shaking. I'm like, wait, is that something?
Yeah.
That's
That's my
Briscoe.
boy
He's
Briscoe.
sometimes
Oh, that's a good
Hello,
dog
Briscoe
right
boy.
there.
He's like, oh, here I am.
He's a
again.
good boy.
He hasn't been on the show in a while.
He hasn't
Unpaid
been on the show in
intern.
a while. He's a little
boy.
sausage boy.
Oh, he's a
fully
sweetheart.
grown though.
He is. He's fully grown. I'm not sure what he is. The vet says he's some kind of like
Something.
He's a
terrier
good boy.
dachshund lab mix, and God only knows what the parentage was like for that. But my friend found him on the side of the road, and we took him in. So
Well, he's got a great house now.
My wife is the she's the president of Joseph's Legacy Animal Rescue here in Butler County, Ohio, and
She's a fucking saint.
We just have a bunch of rescue animals in our house, man.
dude, your house is a zoo. Let's be real.
Have you
Man,
ever,
it's zoo.
I think that I can't remember which one it is, but from Dan and Shay, I want to say it's Shay, but I'm not sure. His wife is really big into that, and they have animals all over their house. One of the two of the guys there.
We get the broken ones. My wife, like we have a bunch of people that work with us. You know, in fact, my wife is doing a big event this weekend called My Furry Valentine. You guys probably
we promote that. Yeah, I was bummed the other day
This weekend.
that I missed it. They always bring by the animals to the station, and I was doing something, and when they came at noon, I was out to lunch with a client, and I didn't get to see it because it's always so fun to see the dogs and the kittens that they bring by. Yeah, but they brought by. This year it's at the Sharonville Convention Center, right?
No, it's at that Spooky Nook, actually.
Oh, Spooky Nook, yeah, the sports complex.
Spooky Nook in Hamilton, and my wife she's going to be gone this whole weekend. It's basically Dad's by himself this weekend. You know?
Who was that just commented and said something? They commented something that popped up.
That's my buddy Stan. That's he's talking about My Furry Valentine this weekend as well. He's probably going to be there as well. It's a big thing, man. They go through last year they went through hundreds of adoptions in one event.
It's a great thing, man.
It's fantastic.
It's a great thing.
It really is. My wife works her butt off for this weekend every year. It's her WrestleMania, for lack of a better term.
I was gonna say that, dude.
It really is.
That's wonderful.
Thank you, Stan. That's my boy.
Have there been people that have watched the whole thing here?
Oh, absolutely.
The whole time?
Yeah, these people have literally. We have
quite a few steady listeners every week. We do 2 episodes a week. You know what I mean? We have a lot of followers that are audio only. We have a lot of followers that watch the YouTube only. Some on Facebook, some on Instagram.
This was right at the beginning of the episode, adding your mom's a scrap meat trailer to my insult list.
There's comments all.
That's Cephas's brother.
It's actually known as the inedible trailer.
I love that. I love it.
You can
this has been so much fun. I mean,
what advice?
I'd like to come back anytime. Well, go ahead.
What advice could you give us to grow, Dave? We're just 3 real dads. We don't have any major degrees towards broadcasting. We've got a lot of success. We've had a lot of cool people, a lot of WWF legends. We have the 3rd place winner for America's Got Talent in 2019 is coming on in a couple weeks. We've got musicians. But what advice do you think you could give us to help us grow?
I think you just keep being. You guys are real, man. I mean, this has been real. I glanced at my watch a few minutes ago. I was like, holy crap, we've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes. It didn't feel like we had.
Yes.
Which is a good sign. I think, we've all, I hope I didn't talk too much. I don't know.
No,
I mean, when I'm having the Tennessee cocktail here, which is now empty, I might sometimes, but I mean, I figured you had me on for a reason. So, but I felt like our conversations all went smooth, and I think you're right onto something here, man. I mean, that's
one of the best.
Like I said, man, I've been listening to you since I could drive, which I'm sorry that ages you a little bit. But,
that's all right. I know I'm an old man. Come on,
dude. Honestly, I got a little bit of a bone to pick with you back in like 2007. you were shitting on the Zach Brown band, and it kind of pissed me off.
Oh, wait, what did I? No. What did I? Oh, wait.
Oh, you were shitting on him.
I bet I know what this is. It
was like Zach Brown came out and he was like talking shit because he wasn't getting like played on the radio.
No. I'm going to tell you. You want to know the story?
Yes.
Right. So, yes.
You remember what I'm talking about?
All right. So the song, "Chicken Fried."
Yeah.
Originally, Zach Brown, who is a great guy, by the way, they gave that song to a band called the Lost Trailers.
Yes.
And that was the version B105 was playing. And it was starting to gain some traction. But suddenly, Zach Brown realized that their version was gaining traction too. And he took it away from they took it away from the Lost Trailers, and we had to pull it. So I was probably making a joke or a slight at Zach Brown about that, because that song.
You said, I remember this, dude. I remember this till the day I die. I don't know why this is in my memory bank, but you were like, "Oh, he's just mad because they're not relevant anymore." And I remember listening and being like, "Fuck you, Dave."
In 2007,
Zach Brown's awesome.
In 2007, they weren't even relevant yet. Why would I have said that?
It stuck with me. It's really not that
relevant.
big of a deal, but I'm making it a big deal.
Yeah. We're gonna have to pull out the Rolodex and listen to that now. His memories, Mandela.
It was literally. I remember that from years and years ago, and just being like, "Man, Zach Brown fucking rules." Shut up, Dave.
Oh, they do. It's so great. I can tell you one time, the first ACM we won, the show was in Vegas. And afterwards, after the show, of course, Vegas is much earlier time zone. They said, "Do you guys want to go over?" Because that night, the ACMs were happening in the MGM arena.
Yeah,
they kept going over to Mandalay Bay. Does that sound right? Mandalay Bay, and the Zach Brown band were over there, and they would go back and forth during the telecast. Afterwards, they said, "Hey, Zach Brown band is doing a CMT special over at Mandalay Bay. Would you guys like to go?" So we went over and watched it from a suite. And Zach Brown band did all these different. They were recording it for a future telecast, and they were doing all these different takes of. They would stop a song and go, "All right, I didn't like that. Start it over." But I remember Chris Robinson from the Black Crowes came out, and they did like an acoustic thing where they would do like a acoustic circle thing, and they played some songs and stuff. So yeah, that's Zach awesome. Brown is. I apologize to you, Big Rig. I would have never,
No, I'm honestly ever since Bo told me you were coming on, I was like,
I wonder if he.
Oh yeah, it was probably had something to do with the Lost Trailers, but that's another thing. You never know what you say is going to stick with somebody, and I mean, you might think it's the most minor thing, but it'll stick with somebody.
Dude, and this was like 18, 19-year-old me. I didn't, fucking know shit from anything.
Yeah.
I was still thought Florida Georgia Line was a good band.
And by then, what? Back then, you were 18, 19. I was already 60.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not 60 yet. So settle down in the comment section.
Hey, man, you're looking good for 70-something.
See, your daughter's only 20. I'm getting ready to be a grandpa in May.
Yeah. Oh, really? Well, I was an older father, so yeah. My son is 16. And my daughter is about to be 20. So my son's a junior at Beechwood over here, and my daughter is a second year at Xavier.
So do they still think that is cool, or is you kind of nerdy cool?
Have they came back around yet? I guess is the question.
They do. They do. It's weird because I mean, I've been doing this, like I said, just on B105 for going on 20 years. And with, the advent of social media nowadays, radio is not an anonymous job anymore. People know what you look like, and they have for quite some time. So that's an adjustment. But the other night, my son, one of his Christmas presents was tickets to go see Shane Gillis down at Heritage Bank Center. So this is just the latest example of we were walking, and oh yeah, my son loves him. and I thought he was very funny too. But we're walking in and we're going through the little narrow things of Heritage Bank Center, and I guess we walked past the concession stand, and my son heard somebody say, "That's Big Dave," and I didn't hear it, but he was like, Dad, somebody just called you out and said, "That's Big Dave," when we walked by. So I don't know if he thinks that's cool or if it's weird or not. I don't ever,
recognition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I actually went to Heritage Bank back in December to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I got it was a birthday gift for me and my girlfriend, and what a show! But also
phenomenal.
Man, being asses to ankles with everybody in that place,
God,
kind of sucks.
I
Dude,
can't
that place,
wait for them to redo something.
It is so antiquated down there. But all right, as a metal band, do you know where Trans-Siberian Orchestra originated?
I do not. I would imagine somewhere in the Trans-Siberian region.
No. They're actually a former heavy metal band called Sabotage.
Really?
And if you go to the show, Sabotage, Sabotage is how they spelled it. Look them up right now on there, and you'll see the connection to. And if you go to the show and you're down front, 9 times out of 10 there'll be some old groupies with.
I was going to say the people
Sabotage.
up front. I was surprised with the age group that was up front row.
They'll have Sabotage shirts on. Do you see it yet?
That's definitely not them.
You Sabotage, SAVA?
Yes, Sabotage.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
Sabotage. Yeah,
with Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Yes, there was a metal band called Sabotage, and I got it mixed up there. Sabotage, was what became eventually Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Talk about finding your niche and running with it, though.
Well, you know what? I mean, there's actually 2 of those. Because they got to make hay while the sun shines. Yeah, see, he says popular in the 80s. They had a few minor hits, but I mean, talk about making hay while the sun shines for a band. I mean, they've got a window of, anytime past Halloween to the first of the year. They got 2 months. Nothing against Trans-Siberian Orchestra, but nobody's going to go see them do shows outside of Christmas shows. I mean,
they're not going in July to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Yeah, because what the hell are they going to play? But so from what I've heard, they have 2 touring groups that are they can do as many shows as they can during, like, one will be in Cincinnati, one will be in Denver or something at the same time.
It was a hell of a show, but also very weird.
Oh yeah, it's different.
It's like they have like a guy that's like a narrator, like they're trying to tell a story throughout the whole thing.
Christmas in Sarajevo.
Your first time?
But it was like a super depressing story. It was like, I'm trying to enjoy myself. Talking about like, the mom left her son and like all this shit. I'm just like, gosh, I'm just trying to listen to Wizards in Winter. Like, I don't know what you're.
I want to hear dun 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 dun.
Yeah, that's all I'm trying to listen to right now.
Yeah.
It was great though. It was. Honestly, my girlfriend that I went with, she after a while was like, "We got to get out of here. My contacts are about to fall out of my eyes because of all the pyro." It was insane. Like they put on a hell of a show.
Yeah, they do. You get your money's worth.
Yeah,
you've never seen them. It's and they do a lot of good every time they go to. They raise a lot of money for charity. They do our Toys for Tots, and they also usually do an orphanage or a church here. They split the 50-50 there.
When it comes to charity, if you ever need 3 dads to humiliate themselves live on the radio or anything stupid, we'll gladly throw our bodies to the wolves.
Let's do it.
I'm always down to do some cool stuff. We're trying to put something up with
Father's Day 2025. You need 3 dads to come in and do some fun stuff. We're there.
Let's keep it. And I'm always open to come back with you guys. This has been so much fun.
Oh, dude, we'll have you on here multiple times, guaranteed.
I'm a machine of nonsense.
We probably need to see if you're interested in that. We got an empty spot in our league for next year. Maybe we'll get you in have you in another fantasy league. See if you can't win the dad.
Good. All right.
I actually, the reason I knew Statman, I'm actually good friends with his brother Tom,
Oh yeah.
That's where I knew him from, and it was actually kind of funny going to Riverbend growing up. Went to all the Riverbend concerts in my early 20s. And one of my favorite memories of that was Statman coming out. He would always come over to our group that we went with because like he knew, Tom. And he'd do like I don't even know what you'd call it, but he'd like, oh, we're down here at Riverbend and, talking to everybody and
recording something with the troublemakers in the lots.
Exactly. Yeah. And we were way too much of troublemakers, and most of the females in our group were way too drunk to understand what he was saying. But he'd be like, all right, when I say it, you say good times, great country, B105 or whatever the tagline was. And he would always be like, good times. And then he'd hold the microphone up and all the girls would just go, woo!
Like girls do.
Like 5 times in a row. And he was like, all right, we're never going to get this. So
yeah, no, they're too drunk.
We ruined that.
That's all right.
Yeah. I love the Stat family. Those people are awesome.
They're good.
Shout out Tom.
Man, I gotta say, I don't know if you get a chance to listen to him now that you get a chance to sleep, but Jesse and Anna are doing a pretty good job.
Oh yeah, I listen to them. I get up early. I like to work out in the morning. I mean, I still get there at like noon. So
yeah, they're doing a pretty good job, man.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of them, man. They're holding their own on the morning show. It
Absolutely.
definitely threw me off that first morning. I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" A long time. And I went, "What is going on?"
No, they're good people. I love them both dearly. I mean, I've known Jesse for I've known Jesse for at least 15 plus years.
Yeah.
So, and Anna's new to the scene, but I'm already very protective of her. Love messing with her, but I mean, I care about them both deeply.
At this point, we're gonna have to end up getting them on too, and you just have the whole B105 staff. Get the big man Grover on.
Oh God. You need to be in Grover's man cave, and when you do, be ready to talk about Rush.
Oh, I love Rush,
dude. Let's go 2112. Let's go.
All right, can I show you one more thing?
Yes.
About Rush. Hold on. Oh yeah, hold on.
Bro, Neil Peart is the greatest drummer of all time.
Yes, thank you.
Geddy Lee, everything about Rush, man.
Okay, so our old B105 promotions director, who sadly passed away from cancer, Ron James, Ron Pilley was his real name. We loved him dearly. He was a huge Rush fan, as was Grover. So every year for Christmas, I would make something, because back in the early days, Kiss and Rush toured together a lot, and Rush would open the shows. And they tour, a lot of shows. I'm talking like 2 or 3 years. In fact, Rush was still opening for Kiss on half of the Destroyer tour with Detroit Rock City and Beth and all that. So
yeah,
and that was after Kiss Alive. So I always used to find examples and make things for them to remind them that Rush opened for Kiss. Just to me. And I would, every year for Christmas, I would do something like that. So this is my crowning achievement, and I would go through and find all these old concert bills. So I made this, and I actually made myself one too. So here is all these different, times when Rush was on the bill with Kiss. Like you see,
love it.
Yeah, and all
that's awesome.
Yeah, so
Rush on there, but tiny.
Well, yeah. So I actually put this together and had it, professionally printed and then matted and framed for them. And so, yeah, but it's just, look at, I actually made that into a magnet. That's a cool one. The one down here, right here. Yeah, it's hard when I'm looking. But if you look at turn it sideways, there's, it's
awesome, man.
Yeah, they did a lot of shows.
Dude, I'll tell you what, speaking of musical documentaries, Rush Beyond the Lighted Stage, if you've never seen it, great documentary. I love Neil Peart, whatever you want to call him. I love so one of my favorite shows of all time is Trailer Park Boys. There is an episode where they end up going to a Rush concert because of Bubbles and everything like that.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen,
they kidnapped what's his name?
They kidnapped Alex Lifeson.
Alec
And,
Lifeson. And
Ricky kidnaps Alex Lifeson and makes him play for Bubbles, and Bubbles is like, "What are you doing, Ricky?" It's great.
So
be good Bubbles, man.
One of the fun, great stories from the times when they toured together was when I think it was a lot of times when the opening band, it's the last night on a leg of a tour. There's pranks. Usually the main headliner will prank the opening band or something. So on the Rush, it was their last gig on this leg of a tour for a while. So during their show, Kiss walked out in full costume and makeup and everything with cream pies and hit them all in the face. All right. So, and Kiss went back. Paul Stanley says, we thought we'd conquered the world. We thought, we got them so good. Little do they know, Rush had something planned too. So here comes Kiss when they come out on stage and they got those, 6-inch platform shoes on and everything. All of a sudden they look over, and I think it was Alex Lifeson was standing on the side of the stage with a bag of marbles and just dumped them out onto the stage. And then Geddy Lee popped up with an Indian headdress on and started shooting them with rubber arrows.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it was like, what a great, And if you ever get a second, Google Geddy and Alex talking about the bag. Just remember that.
Okay.
What Alex Lifeson used to take a laundry bag from the hotel and pull it over and draw a face on it and put his hands and cover up his whole body. And he had this character, and it amused Ace Frehley to no end. And and they talk about it. I think it's in the Rush, one of the documentaries. They talk about the bag. And
I love that.
You got to go when we get done tonight. Go look up.
I will watch that for sure.
It's a very short clip, but it just tells you how much fun they had together out on the road.
That's one thing I love is bands touring together that you would never think would cross over type thing.
Yeah.
Because I actually went and saw Eric Church. This was back in 2014, probably. Went and saw him down in Alabama. It was like a surprise birthday thing for me, whatever. And their opener, Eric Church's opener, was Hailstorm, like a rock band.
Yeah.
Which was
a weird one.
A very odd crossover, but it fucking worked.
Well, see, that's
it was so cool.
We got offered a show with the Nappy Roots, which are the guys that sing "You're Gonna Have a Good Day."
No.
And okay. So we were excited to play with them, but all my guys were like, "Man, that's not we're metal. That's not gonna be the crowd." I was like, "Watch." So we have a cover of "Push It" by Salt and Peppa. I was like, "What?" We play one hip hop cover. They're gonna.
I've never heard this.
Oh, yeah. So we played Push It. And the next thing I know, it was like every single middle-aged black woman that was in that entire building was like, "Oh, we love this metal band. These are our white boys." They took care of us, man. They were buying us drinks the whole night.
I love it.
How about the lady popping for you in Dayton when you called AJ Francis Wish.com Suge Knight?
Yeah, that was pretty good, dude.
One middle-aged black lady was like, "Ha!"
We're gonna have to bring you out to a wrestling show, man. We're friends with and we're sponsors of Wrestling Revolver, which is owned by Sami Callihan, who's a former TNA world champion. He's a former WWE NXT performer. He's been wrestling for a long time, and he's real good friends with John Moxley. It's a local promotion. We definitely have to get you on at some point and let you come see an episode live. Everything they do is on pay-per-view, man. So it'd be cool. We'll get you out in the.
I love it.
Bring that damn stat man with you. We have
he's had a standing invite and we haven't heard from him. So
okay,
bring both of them.
Yeah, well, that'd be great, man.
Bring you to our world.
Yeah. Especially because look, man, Dave, we've only hit 2 hours with 2 other people in 2 years. And this is organic too, because you don't hit 2 hours when you're forcing an interview. This has been like a conversation with somebody we've known forever. And it really feels that way, man, because like Big Rig said, we've been listening to you forever, man. I mean, I want to take a minute to give you your flowers, man. I don't know how much you realize the positivity you bring into this world. Sometimes, like today, for example, man, I worked 12 hours before I came and did this. And from 3 to 7, you were there giving me the few smiles that I had, man. And you do that for a lot of people, man. I don't know if you know the magnitude of the positivity you spread, but it's gotta be pretty cool to have that power.
There were many days where I was driving home from work at 6:30 in the morning listening to B105 morning show on my ride home after working a 12-hour shift. So yeah, you've given us a lot over the years, and we can't thank you enough.
I appreciate that. It's nice to hear. I mean, I've always had the mindset of saying, and I think I've said this a couple of times to people, is that, doing radio is not curing cancer, but maybe we make someone's day on their way to their job and they cure cancer,
Hey,
because we made them smile, we made them laugh, we made them happy or something. That's the way to go about it.
Well, I've had so many nights. I mean, working a 12-hour shift on night shift, you get off and you're just exhausted. You had a rough night, whatever. And I got to get home and sleep, and I can listen to you guys on the way home. And that's my settle, for so many, there were so many days where that was my, okay, let's calm down and get home.
And you're like, forget what he said about Zach Brown in 2000.
Yeah, that was always in the back of my mind, Dave. It was always in the back of my mind. Nagging me.
Well, Dave,
let it go.
Your name got
Until
scratched
you
off
came
the
on
list.
here.
Tonight.
I had to say something about it.
Congratulations, you made the list, buddy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, as long as you leave Zach Top alone, we'll be all right.
I ain't gonna bother him.
I'm trying to win tickets, man, but it's hard since you guys have a gazillion freaking followers. But it is what it is. That ticket, I'm so glad he's selling like he is. He's
Or say something about the Zach Brown. You never forget.
See, hey, you need to get on him. He spelled Zach wrong.
Yeah.
He spelled it like
No
Zach
H.
Top spells it.
Yeah,
Zach Brown spells it with no H. I'm just kidding.
All right, boys. You guys got anything else before we wrap this up?
No, I'm good, brother. Dave, thank you so much, man.
This
has been an absolute honor. I
Let me
can't
tell
believe that this is my life right now.
I love
getting
it.
to have Big Dave on my show.
I mean, the fact that I sat here for 2 hours without wanting a dip of Copenhagen tells me a lot about you, Dylan. I saw you hitting your things there. I was like, man, I could put a dip in right now, but I'm not gonna.
Buddy,
we wouldn't have cared.
Buddy, back when I started listening to you, I was dipping Copenhagen, so I get it.
Now listen, though, wait. So before we go, speaking of that, I this is me. Remember when I made Jesse wear the shirt?
Yeah.
This is it right here. From Cincy shirts. That's me with a cigar.
Shout out Cincy shirts, man.
I love them. Yeah,
They
and my
made this
Tennessee
hoodie right
cocktail. Oh yeah,
They made our hoodie right there.
Darren over there is fantastic, but these are still for sale. If you type in B105 Tennessee cocktail or Tennessee whiskey, it comes up and it benefits Toys for Tots, which is awesome. Part of it does.
That.
But I made Jesse wear this. But in this picture, if you could tell, I'm literally smoking a cigar and dipping at the same time.
Hell yeah, brother!
Because
I'm ready to
die.
How many times I've done a very similar thing? Had a dip in, drinking a beer, and I'm like, you know what? I'd go for a cigarette right now.
There you go.
Back in my early 20s, that was the move. Hence the 0.98 GPA.
Nicotine nirvana is what I call it,
buddy. I tell you what,
Vice. It's a terrible vice.
Well, guys, I'm ready to come back anytime. You let me know.
Dave, we would be happy to have you on. We'll definitely have to have you come to a show with us.
Sure.
I guarantee you'll have a good time. Thank you so much for coming on, man. This has been an absolute blast.
Fun for me too. I love it.
I seriously, I'm kind of over the moon right now having Big Dave on our show. We've been doing this. August will be 3 years for us doing this
Fantastic.
show. So this has been really cool. And you know what? If you ever want to have us on the B105 show, we're not going to say no.
Come in and shave your facial hair.
We'll do it. If it gets me on B105, I'm open.
I will PTO tomorrow and shave my whole body for Zach Top tickets.
By the way, you got more hair on that top than I thought you'd have.
Yeah. If it benefits something and I get to be on B105, I will shave my beard.
All right.
I can't say that my girlfriend will love it, but you know,
For the record,
money for charity or something.
I've never seen Eric clean shaven.
yeah, I've had this since
So
2009.
Well, you know, I got clean
2008.
shaven before Halloween this year. Did you see that? That I did that?
Chris is like, no, that's
That's
my wife.
Steve's wife.
Okay, yeah. No, last thing before, you know, I decided to go as Beetlejuice for Halloween.
Yes, that's
And
great.
do our Scary Carrie Chevrolet thing, and I was going to do a charity thing for kids too. And I thought, you know, the listener said I couldn't just trim my beard, which I've had forever. I had to completely shave it off. So I took advantage of that and actually went to Tip Top Barbershop in Oakley and had them do the whole towel and straight razor thing.
Man, I tell you what, that's the shit. Just getting a neck shave.
Oh yeah, but doing that, and it was weird. I went to work after that because I was going to do the Beetlejuice makeup, and they said you got to be completely accurate. So I'm at work, and a girl, I don't know if you know Q102 Molly Watson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Q102. She literally walked past me. I've known Molly since she used to call me Papa Dave when she was an intern.
Right.
At the stations. She walked past me and then did one of those cartoon stops. You know, and she turned around and she goes, Dave? I mean, that's how different I looked without the beard on. So yeah.
It's like one of my favorite comedians is Tom Segura. He shaved his beard off like a couple weeks ago and came on his podcast, and everybody was like, no.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
And the thing was, it took a long time for my beard to come back in because, well, not a long time, but longer than I thought because that shave was so close.
Yeah.
You know, they put the hot towel on there and they do this, that, and the other, and then they do it again. They use that straight razor. It was a good, like my neck right now, this is a day and a half of just already turned. It took like 3 or 4 days for that to start showing up here because it was so close.
I'll tell you what, I don't want to see what I look like underneath this, but if it benefits charity and gets me on B105, you know, I'm in. Because I've gained quite a bit of weight since I started growing this.
How many chins are under
I don't know
beard?
how many chins are under this thing.
There's a couple. You'll be all right.
There's a couple
right.
for sure. I can feel there's a little puff down there.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome, guys.
Thank you,
Dude,
brother.
seriously, thank you so much. This has been amazing. Boys, love you guys. This has been awesome. We are the DWO podcast. I'm Big Rig Eric Maffey. He is Mr. Magnificent Mike Martin. He is the Wrestling T-shirt guy, Bo Cephas. Which, hold on, before I finish this, did you tell Big Dave your world records?
Yeah, I'm the world record holder for one of the most consecutive days wearing a pro wrestling T-shirt. So we're on day 1119. So for the last 3 solid years, now on to 4 years, wrestling shirts every day.
Certified world record holder.
Very nice.
Well, as always, you can check us out on all the socials at DW_podcast, Facebook at the DWO podcast, TikTok at DW_pod. Get that dad merch at Pro Wrestling Tees, TeePublic, or message us directly. We'll ship it to you. Cool stuff. We actually do need to do a restock. We're kind of running a little low on the bigger sizes, which, you know, wrestling fans, you know what I mean? But yeah, like, subscribe, listen, follow, tap the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. Rate us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Rate us, please. That really helps us. And share all this stuff. It really it helps us a lot. So until next time. If
you're watching or listening right now, thank you.
Subscribe.
Yeah, thank you so much for everybody that's been commenting, tuning in. We love you guys so much. Until next time, top dads.